In this video, we're going to look at using StatSeeker analytics to drive proactive alerts. And by that I mean predicting when an issue is going to occur and triggering an alert to give you early warning. The example I'm going to use is very simple, but it's still illustrative of the type of alerting possible with StatSeeker. And there are other videos looking at both threshold and alerting configuration in greater detail, so check them out if you're interested. The example that I'm going to look at is predicting when a storage drive is going to start running out of space and having StatSeeker alert me in advance that the issue needs to be addressed. Now, I have a report which looks at both the current use percent of my selected data store and uses analytics to forecast this data into the future. Here's the configuration for my report. It's a graph report looking at file system data. I have a custom time filter from 3 months in the past to 360 days into the future. And the interval is set to once a day. I really don't need any finer granularity than that for this report. And an entity filter, just this one file system that I'm interested in. In the data series, I have the use percent, and I've added forecast data, and also dropped in a threshold at 90%, since this is my critical value. The report looks like this. Here's our data and our forecast data. And we can see it intersecting our threshold in late May, early June next year. Zoom in to confirm that. Yep, around the 8th or 9th. And double click to back out. By default, this forecast data is based on the last 6 months worth of data from that specific file partition. It doesn't matter what is being displayed in the report. My report only goes back 90 days, but for the analytics section, StatSeeker will always use the last 180 days unless you specify a custom time filter to use. And I might want to do that if I want the data model to be built from a specific set of data. And when you do that, you drop a custom time filter in here. If you don't have 6 months worth of data for something you want to forecast, StatSeeker will just use what you've got. But keep in mind that if you're looking at highly variable data, say like interface traffic during business hours, then the shorter the data history being used, the less reliable the model being produced. Typically, you configure thresholds against current data, what's happening right at the moment, right now on your network. But you can also configure a threshold against this predicted data and trigger alerts in response to a threshold breach. Because it's predicted data, I can set how far into the future I want to assess the threshold, this being how much lead time I want to allow myself to address the issue. Let's head to the threshold config to show you how to set this one up. Admin tool, alerting and event management, threshold config. I'll add a new threshold and name it. Attribute is file system, use percent, format is forecast value. I want to threshold against forecast data in 42 days. Check it once a day, see if it's above 90%, and filter to just that one partition that I'm interested in. And save. So to review, once a day, get my file share, forecast a use percent value 42 days into the future. If that forecast value is over 90%, record an event. Now we need to configure an alert that will look for this event. Same section of the admin tool, alerting. New alert. I'll pick a template, name it, set the event type to our new threshold, send the alert email to myself, I'm the admin user, set a subject, drop in some info about the data store, the breach value in 6 weeks, a link to my report. Now, if you're copying a report URL for linking purposes, you need to run the report from the console and grab the URL from there. The preview report generated in the report creation panel, it's just got a temporary URL and it won't work for linking. And save my alert configuration. So if I have this type of threshold and alert in place, I'll receive an alert informing me that my data store will run out of space in 6 weeks' time, giving me a comfortable lead time to address the issue. And that's a quick look at alerting on predictive data.